Petition of mine heart, be acceptable in Jehovah's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's lesson. I'm on. Uh, Give me 1 second. All right, Shalom. Sorry about that. Trying to make sure everybody's got the link and everything if they want to join in with us. Prayerfully, your day is going well. This is something that we have planned out where we're kind of doing a hybrid with hashtag SOC University. And by the way, I'm sorry, we give honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him. For my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. I apologize. We were supposed to do this on Zoom, and I think I had something happen with the card information, so we tried to correct it as far as Zoom and making sure all the payments and everything went through. Everything has. We're trying to get somebody to help us out because we're not getting our normal stuff on Zoom, which should basically be, us. We pay for certain things that we get on there monthly, and apparently since the pay got messed up, they put us on basic, so we should go back to pro, but they haven't made us put us back where we're supposed to be. So prayerfully we'll get that together. If not, we won't have a meeting tonight. So prayerfully, by the time we start the live session, things will have changed. If not, we'll have to course correct to try to use, or maybe we'll use Clapper or some other device, but we might have to have something somewhere else. So just kind of keep your ears perked for that as we try to fix what's going on with that. But thank you all for being on. Appreciate, love you. So this is going to be something that we do for free for maybe the first couple of weeks of this hybrid. We're kind of going back to what we used to do, where we used to have, the teaching, and then, you could ask questions and stuff. And then we went to straight up just all, you could look up the recordings and then ask questions. So we're going to do kind of a hybrid. We're twice a week on Thursdays and Fridays at 6:30 New York time, except for when we have our ministerial staff meeting. We won't have that on first Thursdays, but every other every other Thursday and Friday, we will make sure that we're on at 6:30 New York time. So I do apologize. I wanted to try and come on Zoom. I was trying to work all day to get it back on track. It is what it is. It didn't pop up, but thankfully we're able to at least meet up right now. So you can still ask questions and stuff like that. It just won't be, through obviously the way we would do it on Zoom. So feel free to listen in. But we're going to go ahead. So what we're going to do on Thursdays is we'll do 2 classes, kind of 45 minutes per, and then we'll jump to on Fridays, which will be tomorrow, but Friday we'll do the same thing, 2 45-minute class or sessions per class until we finish the class, and then we'll move on to the next one. All right. So, and these will be for those that are hashtag SOC University. You guys will continue with these. We'll continue with those, and those who would like to attend or those who would like to participate, we ask that you become part of the Patreon fam, or if for some reason that's something that's difficult for you to get to that tier, then we can try to figure out a way where you can do it and send the stuff via, your donation via somewhere else if you feel up to it. But Shalom, peace, peace, peace. How's everybody doing? How you doing? K. Donnie, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Brother Lamar, Keith, Sister Keita, or sorry, MIT Akita, excuse me. Sister Knight, MIT LaCrystal, Bruder Richard, Sister Deborah, Minister Stephen, and everybody who's joining us or might watch this later on. We will allow this to be public, so this will be up for a couple of weeks. And then after a couple of weeks, this will be something that you'll have to get via, Patreon, hashtag SOC University group. I'm on. So you can always feel free to ask, contact us through the link tree, or eventually, obviously, our information will be put up in the chat. So you can always contact us if you have further questions, comments, and concerns for these sessions, and we'll do our best to answer everything as best we can. So tonight we are going to be starting off with, sovereignty will be the second class. Sovereignty is the second class. First class will be, or first session is going to be for the class of natural medicine. So we're going to start off with natural medicine, and hopefully all is going well. Oh, no problem. No problem, sis. Thanks for being on. So, I'll try to, I just saw that you contacted back, so I apologize. I wasn't able to get to you beforehand. We were trying to get all this stuff up and running. So just hopefully we'll have Zoom back up tomorrow. But our goal is to make sure that we do this no matter what. How you doing, Sister Mignon? So we'll have this for everybody. If you go through Patreon and looking for this, by the way, looking for the link for tomorrow, etc., all you have to do is look on there and become a free member, and you'll have access to everything, for, at least for the next couple of weeks. Am I? So thank you all. Appreciate, love you, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. How you doing, Minister Shante? So for some of you, this is review. For some of you, you've gone through the stuff. You've done on demand. You've done the classes before. We are starting off, at least for tonight, with classes that we've done pretty regularly. Tomorrow is going to be cryptocurrency, and I still can't recall off the top of my head what tomorrow is going to be the other class that we'll be doing, but we'll get into those. Cryptocurrency will help you even if you don't want to do cryptocurrency. It'll at least help you with investing if you're interested in learning more about investments, things of that nature. How you doing, MIT Raj? Alrighty. So first things first. First things first, we're going to deal with, and we'll take like a 5-minute break once we're finished with this session. And we'll take a 5-minute break before we jump into sovereignty. But first things first, we're going to jump into natural medicine. And so we'll say our Bible pledge and jump right in. Bible pledge goes as follows. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahashua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Hashem Yechava. Amen. Alrighty. So first things first, natural medicine. How you doing, Prince? So when we talk about natural medicine, right, as we do an intro for this class, first things first is we want to make sure that we recognize the nature of medicine, right? Because there is artificial medicine, and then there is natural medicine. So we need to know the nature of medicine. So quick question for you all. When I mention the term medicine, what do you think of? If I say medicine, what do you think that we're talking about when we say medicine even? Or what is something you think of? Somebody help me out in the chat if you're able to. When we say medicine, what is medicine? Right? We've already kind of given a hint with the name of the class, but what is medicine? If somebody's going to medicate, what are we talking about? Okay, so I see a picture of herbs. Okay. What else could we say medicine is? That's jumping on, it's almost, it's on the nose, but it's not quite what we're looking for. Okay, somebody else, herbs. Okay, what else could we say is medicine? Pills. Okay, so we can say pills. What else is medicine? Treatment. Okay, so medicine is used to treat something, right? Prescription to heal. Okay, so and prescript, by the way, or if something's prescripted, is really talking about separating things and even offing something so that a system can be in place. Believe it or not, like if somebody if they went through a prescript, right, or prescripting something, or prescriptions in Roman times, that was actually where they might even say, we want you to get rid of somebody so that we'll be able to make a deal. All right, the word healing. All right, there we go. How you doing, Sister Deborah? How you doing, Sister Snat? There we go. Food. The word of Yah. Okay, sure. If we go to the spiritual and the esoteric order, okay. So food. Food is medicine, right? If it's actual food or real food, it's medicine. Now, food, just like medicine you get from the store, can be abused, right? But natural food, right, what we're eating, including the clothes that we wear, we'll get into that at some point later on in this, but including the clothes that we wear, the deodorant or you know, the deodorants that you're putting on your body, or the antiperspirants, these things are food, right? The lotion or the shea butter, right? That great shea butter that Sister Beverly or MIT Makita has for us, or even if we have the the medicine that is not even if we have food that's not, or shea butters and things like that that aren't real, or things that have a bunch of stuff in it, or things that water it down, or preservatives, things that they put in food and things to preserve, right? So these are all things, yes, that the body consumes. So when we're talking about natural medicine, we want to talk about the nature of medicine within the confines of the nature of food. How you doing, Auntie Mary? Right, that's what we're talking about when we say natural medicine, right? So when we are eating, right? We are medicating, right? And, persons medicate in different ways, just like somebody can take different various recreational drugs and medicate, right? They're consuming, it's food. Somebody can, be addicted to many different things, right? Sugar, especially white sugars, right? And even fake sugars and stuff, but definitely, chemicalized sugars are things that are there. So we have chemicalized medicine and we have natural medicine. We're going to talk about more like chemical medicine and natural medicine. Now, when I say chemical, what do you guys think I mean? If we say that there's natural medicine, once again, the hint is in the title, right? If it's natural medicine, then what is chemical medicine? Think about it. If we're talking about something comes from nature, then chemical medicine means that we've done what? If there's natural medicine, then chemical medicine means it's artificial, right? So that could include pills or synthesizing, right? Synthetic things, of course. So the natural is the things that within their nature. The chemical is somebody's changed it. Now, this can even be not necessarily done in the lab, and there can be chemical things that bring about great things. I think that we kind of overemphasize if something's chemicalized or something's changed or altered, that it's automatically always going to be bad. I don't want to kind of go through that mindset because that puts us in a place to where we're kind of excluding a lot of stuff that actually can still work for us, right? We can treat like so for example, if you chop up a carrot to eat it, it is technically you've done something chemical to it. But would we say that that's something that's bad for you? Well, it actually is something to be said for eating a carrot raw as is. That being said, though, chopping it up is not going to really do anything that is going to devalue the healing for you. At least not to a level to where it even picks up on your radar, right? It's still going to be a blessing to you, even if it's chemical, right? Or somebody will say, well, if you have natural medicine and you have chemical medicine, right? Second law of thermodynamics doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. But but if that's your way of saying hello, how are you doing? So natural medicine is the nature. What is it within its nature? So even a lot of the carrots we eat today, technically somebody has created that over time. But those carrots can still help you with your vision. So if you're having problems with your vision, you can eat, carrots to help you to improve. Just because there's been some stuff done to them. Or for example, eggplants. Eggplants used to look like eggs. Right now they're these huge, big purple things or whatever. But you can still eat an eggplant and get certain things from them, including for those of you who are smokers or anything like that. You could even use eggplant to make sure that you get nicotine. Believe it or not, right? Eggplant has nicotine in it. One of the only things that actually has nicotine in it, besides uh, tobacco and things like that. So, so you can go ahead. Well, thank you, user one X. Sure, you're not anybody of who I'm looking for to tell me whether I failed or not. So it is what it is. I hope you have a great day though, and hopefully you spending time on something. Hopefully, I guess this put some kind of value in your day. Have a great day. But to those who are actually here for what we're talking about, right? The natural medicine and things of that nature um, are things that we have to recognize and realize are things that are there to help us for what the Most High has for us and how our bodies naturally are and how we've been created, right? So, in all these different things, and thank you, moderators. Thank you, Sister Renee. And all these different things that we're dealing with, you're dealing with natural medicine, right? So natural things that we eat are things to heal us, even to restart. One thing I told you guys, I'm trying to restart certain things in my body that are just, no matter what I've been doing, certain things aren't moving the way they need to. So even something as far as a natural remedy to restart is to restart the pancreas, right? So we could eat fruits, right? Or fruits to ensure nothing but fruits, right? Nothing but things that have seed in them, specific ones more so than others, but still you could eat a bunch of fruit and it helps you to get to this place to where, okay, like if I'm eating nothing but that, that's going to tell my pancreas to restart. Matter of fact, even be painful because when your pancreas hasn't been utilized correctly, it's going to mess things up. But that's a medicine. I'm medicating through nature, right? Or even or even when we're dealing with certain things, as far as what's the way we could look at it? Or even like eating something like sweet potato for the pancreas, right? Sweet potato actually looks like the pancreas, so it's something you can utilize. Your body has a lot of stuff like that. You are what you eat. If it looks like it, more than likely it's for it to help, right? Um, but these are things that are natural. So these things that are natural, one of the reasons why we're not taught about these things, we've been shown these things, is because things that are natural, and that you can learn to grow for yourself or get yourself, or even if somebody gives you something natural, you're not stuck on the artificial. The artificial can heal certain things or help with certain things, but the artificial always causes something called a side effect. Now, roll with me for a little bit because I know not everybody, even some of us, even don't necessarily kind of get what I mean by this, or not even necessarily get what I mean. You might not think this is a great way of looking at it, but this is how I look at side effects. Let's say, right, if somebody's trying to get something that helps you with your vision, if you get something that's chemical, somebody had to change it up, and usually what happens is somebody changes up the formula or the even the you know, let's say like, I'm not great with this terminology, but let's just say something simple like water. Water is H2O, right? H2O. If you get it from fruit, it's H3O2, right? But you have H2O or H3O2, right? H2O is water in its natural way that it is, right? H3O2 is when the water is in fruit. So that's why you should eat a bunch of fruits anyways, because you actually get more hydrated, believe it or not, from eating fruit than you do from having, water all day. Especially if you don't have enough magnesium. So, but let's say somebody wants to make a fake version of fruit, right? So you have H3, right? Three hydrogens, and O2, right? Two oxygens. H2O would be two hydrogens and one oxygen, right? But if you have fruit, you're going to have three hydrogens and two oxygens. If somebody changes what the fruit is and it makes it chemical, then what happens is that uh, we change the we change the combination. We change. So if somebody makes it now, and I'm not sure if this is exactly what works. I don't know what H3O3 is, but I'm just using that as an example. Let's say you change it to H3O3. Well, if you're eating it, now it's not H3O2. And when you've done that, what happens, or what somebody might do is say, I want to take a piece of this fruit. And so you might get two of the hydrogens and two oxygens you're supposed to, but you're missing one of the hydrogens in the fruit. It should be H3O2, right? So if I'm missing one, what happens is that, or I'm take something out, there's a side effect. It's not whole. So imagine if you had a whole fruit, right? Once again, I don't know if this makes sense. I hope it does. But imagine you had a circle or a whole, like that represents that circle. That circle represents a whole fruit. But if something's missing, let's say there's a hole in the side now because something's missing from what's supposed to be put together. Therefore, now we have something called a side effect, if you will, where there's a hole in it. So now we have effects, right, that we should be having, or something that should be there that now certain things escape, or certain healing that should go forth, right? So for example, uh, oh wow, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to get something together. So for example, you guys have a bunch of vitamin D. You're missing coverage in a way, right? So maybe I can explain it like this. Let's say you have a vitamin D deficiency. By the way, vitamin D deficiency for our diaspora, let alone for many persons on Earth, a lot of persons have vitamin D deficiency because a lot of us, we work inside or we're not outside a lot. We're in cubicles. You're in your vehicle all day. You're doing different things. You're in a warehouse, et cetera, right? So a lot of us are not even outside often enough and not in the sun often enough to get what we need on a daily basis, right? Especially the more melanin you have, the more sun you need, because your melanin actually helps to keep out the sun. So while it eats sun, it also is keeping some of it out. So you have to actually get enough to where you get a nice little, you get enough eating and blocking at the same time. The lighter skin you are, for the most part, then the easier it is for you to absorb stuff that's coming from the sun. But let's say somebody is vitamin D deficient. Most of you, even if you're not aware of it, most of us are. So if you're vitamin D deficient, somebody will go to the store and they'll say, okay, cool, I'm going to get a bunch of vitamin D. And by the way, I'm sorry, Auntie Marion. So when you ask, is it a natural electrolyte? I'm not sure what I was talking about at the time, but an electrolyte really, for a lack of a better way of saying it, for real, an electrolyte is just something you put in what you're drinking. That's natural, right? At least you hope it to be natural. So when you pay all that money for Gatorade and they say, we got all these electrolytes, look, if you have some water and squeeze some lemon inside, the lemon has now become your electrolyte. You put some lime and some lemon in there, you got two different types of electrolytes. You put some fruit in there, you got electrolytes. Technically, that's all an electrolyte is. You put some salt in there, right? Everybody, I would actually suggest, especially if you feel dehydrated quite a bit or you have headaches quite a bit, drink your water and just put, a tiny pinch of salt in it. Wherever salt goes, water goes. So one of the easiest ways to deal with, a lot of your headaches are usually going to be caused by being dehydrated, right? So you put some salt in there. That's an electrolyte. But anyway, let's say you were vitamin D, right? Yeah, Celtic salt. Really a lot of salts, but Celtic salt would be better than many for real. And so, but let's say you're vitamin D deficient. One who's vitamin D deficient, a lot of times what they'll say is, okay, go to the store, get some vitamin D, or buy this milk that's added vitamin D, or get this and get this. Or I went to my doctor and they suggested I buy this vitamin D, I buy this vitamin D, Bavakasha, and I buy this vitamin D, I get this, I get this. Cool, okay, right? What you'll discover is that it's not whole. So you're still having side effects. A lot of persons don't get that because vitamin D is activated, right? So if you're going to do vitamin D, they don't say you need some A in your life. You need some K, and there's one other one too. If you get like 4, I can't remember the one. If Elder Amma pops up or she gets back during the class, I'll make sure I ask her. Or you guys can just ask us another time. We'll be back on next week again too, and the week after that for everybody else who's taking the classes on hashtag SOC University on. In the different platforms we'll have it on. But a lot of persons don't say, like, where's your vitamin A? Where's your vitamin K? Right? So since a lot of persons don't say, where's your vitamin A? Where's your vitamin K? What's your vitamin D? You'll take a bunch of vitamin D and you'll be like, I still feel what? I don't feel whole. Or there's like a side effect that's going along with it because vitamin D is activated by other vitamins. So if you eat something, a lot of stuff that you eat that has vitamin D in it, guess what? It's going to come with the vitamin A. It's going to come with the vitamin K. Right? Something that we don't think about and we're not taught. So somebody will have you spend a bunch of money on vitamin D, and if you're just buying vitamin D by itself, you need to eat something or have other vitamins that you're getting. Vitamins are just vital minerals, by the way. So we have minerals, and if somebody says vital minerals, technically all minerals are vital, but let's just say if somebody's saying vital minerals, then we're saying holistic, right? So there's a lot of different things that are there. Or somebody will say, for example, somebody will say like, oh, your baby is iron deficient. Here's okay, Shalom. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, no, maybe so. Is the volume back on? Yes, no, maybe so. Alrighty, sorry about that. What was the last thing I was saying? Excuse me, I'm sorry. What was the last thing I was saying? I said vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin D, all that. I said you have to have all of them together. And I was going into something else. Does anybody recall? Vitamin D deficiency, yeah, you got to have all those together. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, they might say that your baby has an iron deficiency. That's what it was. So they might say your baby has an iron deficiency, right? So so you'll hear this, but it's not holistic. No, you weren't tripping. I got a phone call and I had to answer. If you get a phone call, I'd be forgetting if I get a phone call and I answer it on YouTube, then YouTube has no sound and So I just had to restart it. So to resume the meeting. Sorry about that. But yeah, so if you have an iron deficiency, right? Locked in, praise God. If you have an iron deficiency, what are we saying? Um, and so somebody will say iron deficiency and your baby has it. Now let's say your baby is older than 6 months, right? A lot of persons don't know that your baby's supposed to be getting certain things at certain times of their growth, right? So your baby having this iron deficiency, supposed iron deficiency, right? But your baby has this iron deficiency, but mother's breast milk, natural medicine, mother's breast milk is naturally gives less iron after the baby's 6 months. So your baby's development, right? When your baby gets past 6 months, your baby doesn't need the iron in the same manner that they did when they were younger. But what do you hear a lot of doctors telling persons like your children, the baby needs iron? No, the first 6 months the baby needs iron. Now, one of the reasons why persons start looking for all this is because we're talking about natural medicine, right? The nature of medicine, correct? Oh, we lost a bunch of persons. Okay, well, hopefully some of y'all still with us. The nature of medicine, natural medicine, right? So when we're talking about the nature of medicine or natural medicine, you have to think of things naturally. So if you're somebody and who's trying your best, a lot of us we start trying our best to feed our babies food way too soon. Why? Because we want to make sure. But in a lot of cultures, they don't even start, ancient cultures included, babies didn't eat outside of the outside of breast milk, and they didn't eat anything outside of that until they got their teeth. Not a couple teeth either, but enough teeth because your body naturally tells you this is when your baby needs to eat. The body is growing into what it needs. You see that? So when we talk about natural medicine or the nature of things, a lot of persons are outside of the nature. We don't even look at, okay, when should my baby eat? When is it all right for the baby to eat? And can y'all do me a favor real quick? Because they be playing with numbers and stuff up and down, up and down, up and down. I can't tell who's in the room, who's not in the room. We had the same issue going. If you're with us still, can you just say, shalom or I'm with you or something, just so I can see how many of you guys are on with us or whatever. I know we got the thing that mixed up everything, but to go from 30 something to to 12 is a little weird, right? But all right, cool. Yeah, so the baby doesn't eat until they have the ability to eat, to chew. But what do? They say, hey, put some rice in that formula. Okay, back on. Okay, cool. So what do? Put some rice in that formula, or do this, or do this, or do that, right? And okay, thank you. Appreciate you. Love you. So you'll see all these different things, and we go outside of the nature, right? Also, two persons start feeding their babies food, and then they're like, oh, you need to have all this iron, but the breast milk naturally gets rid of the iron because the baby's in a place where they don't need as much iron. Matter of fact, some of the stuff that's with us, right? Some of the things that are happening. And how you doing to everybody on? Shalom, Sister Michelle. So a lot of stuff that's going on with the baby, right? A lot of stuff that's going on with the nature of the child, we're not even thinking about, right? When the baby walks, they need certain things that they didn't need when they walk, right? When the baby starts having more things going on with the mind where they can form words better, there's certain things they should eat, you know. But that's the nature, and we don't raise our children within their nature or within the nature of what Yah has created. I'm sorry, could that have something to do with what the nursing mother eats? Well, the nursing mother, no matter what she's eating, unless she's eating a bunch of iron, um, and she shouldn't be necessarily, especially for the baby, or shouldn't even be worried about, especially for boys, because boys don't need, males don't require the iron that females do. Right? How you doing? Mostly me. So these are things that we should kind of keep in mind and keep in our thought process. But a lot of persons don't think about that. So we don't even think of food. Once again, food is medicine. So when somebody says natural medicine, we don't think of the nature of medicine. Right? What is the nature of medicine? Why would I use this? What am I using this for? Right? If I'm trying to build strong bones, like watch this, they'll be like, hey, make sure that your children develop strong bones. but your newborn baby doesn't even have kneecaps yet. They're not supposed to really be developing. They're supposed to slowly but surely get bumped. But right now, they're going to be crawling on their bones. You might drop them from time. I would hope you wouldn't, but they might drop from time to time or something like that. There could be accidents. They're learning how to walk and they're falling. There's all types of stuff. So the baby doesn't require the bones, but you'll be trying to you'll be trying to eat stuff in yourself and trying to give them things that are not even required at this moment in time. Right? We don't think about the nature of the child. Right? The same way we don't think about the nature of ourselves. Right? What is natural medicine? What is natural food? What would you eat? Just same thing, for example, how often do we go to the store and say, you know what, this isn't in season, so I won't eat this. Right? We don't think about that. We treat the fruit and the vegetables like you treat the flesh or the meat that you eat. But the reality is that there's certain things that happen in certain seasons. By the way, the stuff that the animals that you eat, they go through changes in seasons as well. So they're not necessarily the same. You're not eating the same thing that you would be eating in other seasons. Deer are trying to do, if you eat venison, deer are trying to do certain things during seasons that they don't do others. If you eat beef, cows do certain things in the wintertime that they don't do in the summer. Right? Cows can be stressed out. Right? Cows can, but we don't have a relationship, not just with the animals, but we don't have a relationship with our food. Right? To us, it's not natural to pick apples from a tree that we have planted. So we've lost some of that. Right? And by losing our natural relationship to the food, we have now caused a separation in what is natural medicine or even how to medicate ourselves. So we don't think of the nature of a thing, right? We don't think about what does the food look like. We don't think about if a woman should, first of all, just like a wife should be pre-qualified to be a wife, a mother should be pre-qualified to be a mother, including what she eats. That's why mothers go through morning sickness, or what's called morning sickness, because you aren't medicated and sometimes haven't even planned out having a child. And so you end up finding out you're pregnant because when the child does what they're supposed to do, which is eat from mom, you get sick because you should have a surplus of vitamins and instead might not even have enough for yourself. So now you see women losing hair or losing teeth, losing sleep, throwing up, being sick, gestational diabetes, et cetera, because you weren't living naturally or eating even naturally as a mother should. Even before she is going through the process of physically being a mother, you have not pre-qualified yourself or your body for motherhood. You said we must monitor the child development at the different stages, infantile and so on, for sure, right? Right? How you doing, Super Ryan? Or Rian, not sure how you pronounce. Right? How you doing, Sister Snap? Yeah, we're disconnected from nature. So when it comes to natural laws or things that we would do naturally, even within a community where this stuff would be passed down, we're not into it. We don't recognize how babies are born. Right? Up until modern times, nobody really would have ever thought about, hey, a baby's going to be born, and when the baby's born, the mother would lay on her back. Doesn't really make sense to do so. But that's kind of where we are today, right? So we're going through these classes for the next, several weeks. This is, open to everybody. These first couple of weeks we're opening up so everybody can see how this works. Prayerfully, we'll get Zoom working so that you guys can have that experience too, and we can talk more than what we're talking tonight, even though I think we're doing pretty well with the Q&A. But we're going to speak more on that, right? So I'm going to give us, I have on my, where I am 7:07. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll get into the second class for this evening, which is we're going to be starting to talk about sovereignty. So if you'd like to come back for that, feel free to. We're going to take about 5 minutes. So I have 7:07. I'm going to try my best to start by 7:13. Might come on a few seconds earlier, but I'm going to try to start by 7:13. So whatever time you have, I have 07. Once it's 13, let's try and be ready to go, and we'll start talking about sovereignty. Am I on? Alrighty. Okay, so we'll see you in a little bit. Sorry, I can't really do music playing and stuff. Don't have Zoom up. We'll try to get that together for you all. Let's take about a 5-minute break and we'll be right back. Alrighty. Shalom. Peace, peace, peace. We'll start with part 2. Going to sovereignty. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's session. Aman. Shalom, peace. Let us continue. So we're going to start off with the beginning of sovereignty. So we usually start this off by asking the question, why sovereignty? Why sovereignty? Now, we're coming from kingdom perspective. We're coming from a cultural perspective, right? And so in the kingdom perspective and the cultural perspective, why would we look into sovereignty? What is the point of sovereignty? Right? Why are we looking at sovereignty? What are we looking for? What are we looking to? Aman. Can you guys hear us? Somebody said that we're not here. Can you guys hear me now? I should be off. Can you guys hear me? Yes, no, maybe so. Is the sound gone again? Yes. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. So why sovereignty? Why is it important to be sovereign? Number one, if we just come from a biblical perspective, we ask the question like this. From a biblical perspective, we ask the question like this. Is Yahweh, is Yahweh, is Yahweh, is Yahuwah, right? Is the Most High, is Elohim sovereign? Is Yahweh sovereign? Right? Let's make this plain as the nose on our faces. So if Yah is sovereign, right? And he is he also, here's another question, is he king? That one's the answer should be yes, right? So if the answer is not yes, then this is not probably the class or the place for you, right? So if Yah's sovereign and he is king, is he the King of Kings? Right? Yes. Is he Lord? Once again, if the answer is no for you, that's probably not the place for you, right? But if he's Lord, then he's also known as Lord of Lords. And so, yes. So now if Yah is sovereign and he's King of Kings and he's Lord of Lords, then that means if you're underneath him in the kingdom, you should be sovereign. All right. Right? Why sovereign? Spiritual place. Got that covered, right? A sovereign, when we're talking about sovereignty as well, we're talking about from a spiritual place. Any of these gurus who have to deal with the guru as far as sovereignty or laws, etc., you must recognize that when we're getting into law, when we're talking about sovereignty, we are not talking about that we never are in the world at all. We are in the world, the cosmos with a K, the system, but we are not of it. So you are in the beast, but you're not of it. And sometimes you have to do business with said beast. You have to go into the courtroom with the priests, those in priestly robes, who are working for their works show us, and their positions even in what they do every day show us that they are in fact beastly. They are in the beast. They are not in what we are. They are not attempting to live righteously in right lawful standing, at least not the laws of the kingdom of heaven. So Yah is sovereign, so we are sovereign. Yah is holy, so we are holy. Yah is righteous, so we are righteous. Also, too, though, we must recognize that we live in a system. And this is when they try to pick us apart, is because they want you to believe more in your citizenship than in your sovereignty. Salah, right? We are supposed to live in citizenship, in citizenry, more so than sovereignty, right? And by the way, sovereignty if I'll say it a little differently. Instead of calling it sovereign, let's call it sovereign. How is it spelled? R-E-I-G-N, right? So sovereign. I am sovereign. I reign. So I have to figure out where my where my allegiance lies, and I also have to figure out the chain of command, because authority goes downhill. I know y'all know the saying, the S word goes downhill, but authority goes downhill, right? You are authorized by somebody who's above you. What authorized you to be male? There was sperm that came before you that authorized that. What authorized you to be female? There was sperm. What authorized you to grow into into a human being that you are today, or as the system would call you, a monster. But what allowed you to become a natural person, right? Your mother. Stuff comes down here that you have to be authorized, right? And so when we talk about a sovereign, why sovereignty? What is the need for sovereignty? Is because one does not reign if they are a citizen. If somebody can do me a favor, because I don't have my normal setup right now, if anybody's able to look up, or if you got like a King James version or something like that, if you got an app, whatever the case might be, or if you can type it into, blueletterbible.org or whatever, can somebody go online real quick and just type in, Blue Letter Bible? I want you to type in the word citizen and see how many times that word pops up. I think the answer is going to be 0, but I can't say for sure. So if somebody's able to do that, I would very much so be very thankful for you doing so, right? But I'm pretty sure, I don't know, does anybody's Bible, if somebody types it in there, blueletterbible.org or whatever app you use in your Bible app, whatever the case might be, your KJVA app, etc. Does anybody have anything that pops up when you type in citizen? Does it show up at all? And if so, how many times? And then we probably need to turn to it to see what the context is. But I don't even think you see the term citizen show up, if I'm not mistaken. None. Okay, it is 0. So citizens don't even exist in the kingdom. Not in our kingdom. You have to ask yourself, if you're a citizen of something, it's not kingdom. So can a citizen reign if citizens don't exist in a kingdom? Because even the king himself has to reign. You said it shows up twice? Okay, is that in the King James Version? Luke 15:15? Is that in the King James Version? Not mad at you because of the version, just because I'm looking for a specific thing, because back we go. I've never looked at it before. Luke 15:15. Okay, it does. Oh, okay. But see, once again, so thank you for doing that, right? So watch this. So verse 15, and he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, right? But he wasn't in the kingdom. So even context, right? What's the other one, if you don't mind? Right? And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine, right? But we're obviously going to be coming from also some law and stuff that's in the books, Black's Law Dictionary, etc. So I don't want to get too hung up on this, but I've never actually looked at this before. Holy Spirit just presented it. I'm like, you know what? I'm interested. I won't take too much of your time. That might be a thing just for me. Let me not keep y'all on something that might just be for me, for real, to study. But Paul said, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm citizen of of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak to the people." So he's talking about even being in Rome. All right, now Rome has a different kingdom, so yeah, they have citizens there. Yep, that's interesting. Referring to other countries so far. Ephesians chapter 2. All right, I promise you, I'm not gonna stay on this. This is not what I came here for. It's not. We just read Ephesians. We just did the Ephesians series. I forgot it was in Ephesians. Hold on. Now, therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow. Okay, so this one says, but fellow citizens. Okay, so I'll have to research that one. That's not exactly what I thought it was. So, but it is interesting, the usage of it, and even with that, right? But the word citizen is kind of a new thing. But in the kingdom, and of course, this is based off of a Greek word too. So even that we could say is a different context, which is showing that another way of them looking at it is citizenship. But nevertheless, so I'll do some research on that. Let me stick a pin in that point. But in modern society, we don't want to be citizens. And even if you are a citizen, you want the choice to be a citizen of the kingdom if you want to go there, right? That's ultimately what our goal is in sovereignty, is to not have to, by somebody changing your birthright or taking your birthright, we don't want to have to be forced to be something that we're not even born into, right? You said Rome isn't a kingdom, right? They were a republic. Yeah, so Rome started off. Rome or actually, let me get it right. Greece had kings, and then they got rid of kings, and then had kings again, and then they had a republic only, right? A senate, and then Rome. Rome had kings, but they considered the kings to be really bad, so they're like Rome. So they got anti-king, even though the Senate was just filled with the families, the same families who ruled. But they said that we'll have a Senate and never have a king again, and that way they could kind of share the wealth, but they still were able to be over the person. So, but Rome is a republic. And by the way, many places are a republic, right? The United States is a republic. England is a republic. China is a republic. North Korea is a republic. Russia is a republic. Remember, it was the republic. I think it still is, right? The republic, the People's Republic of China. Isn't that the title of the, the official title, the People's Republic, or something like that? So a republic is a kingdom, but it's kind of like we change these words. Some person try to tell you, even though the United States doesn't have democracy in the Constitution, they'll try to say you're not in a republic, you're in a Constitution. But if you say that the pledge allegiance to them, you say you pledge allegiance to the standard or to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, right? So the flag stands, and we understand that we're under it standing, and we're saying that we pledge allegiance to that standard, to that flag, and to the republic for which it stands, right? So, so republic is technically, when we get into this, we'll get into this further. I kind of messed up the thing with the flow with the citizen thing. My bad, y'all. But basically, long story short, is when we're talking about a republic, it's really all these places we're going to find out are really kingdoms or faux kingdoms, right? All you're really dealing with, there's no such thing as a country that's not a kingdom, especially if they say one nation under God, right? It might not be our Elohim, but if it's under God, it's a kingdom. You got to see who their God is, right? But basically, everybody's in the kingdom, and ultimately, we know it goes in the kingdom of wickedness and the kingdom of light, right? And so there is no fellowship between light and darkness, right? The rabbit hole is real. So when we go through these things, why sovereignty? Our responsibility is to make sure that we are no longer citizens of the United States, but sovereigns in the kingdom. If we are fellow heirs with Christ and Christ is sovereign, then that means that we are sovereign. Now, sovereignty is not going to be something, this course, those of you who've taken it before, you kind of already know where we're headed with this part. But sovereignty is not going to be something that we're going to use to try and teach you and tell you how to not follow the law. And this is where a lot of persons who are so-called sovereigns mess up, especially sovereign citizens. There's no such thing, at least as far as lawfully speaking, right? And especially in the law we're going to be dealing out of, there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. If you're sovereign, you can't be a citizen, right? Now, you still are protected as sovereign because your natural person is protected, because they have to admit to your natural person being somebody. And all countries, well, just about all countries have to protect your natural person, right? Or they have to treat your natural person, including some places where they're actually better at keeping your natural person, holding your natural person accountable than even the United States. But sovereignty is not an excuse for us to break the law. Matter of fact, it's the sovereigns that you are or are becoming should be more astute concerning the law and should be better law keepers than those of the world. This is why Yehoshua says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 20, that you should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. Why? You're sovereign. If you're going to follow what the king, the sovereign, says, and you're going to follow his rule, his measurement, then whatever he does, you do. If he carries his cross, you carry his cross. Or you carry your own cross, excuse me. If he is the light of the world, you are the light, right? If he owns all the cattle on 1,000 hills and you eat off those cattle, it's only natural for you to realize that, hey, I'm in a city that's set on the hill. If I am the light, what sense does it make for me to go ahead and smother the fire so that the light goes out, right? So we are not trying to teach you to separate because you don't have to follow the law. We're actually teaching you to uphold the law and realize that the only way to truly uphold the law is to separate from the lawless. Does that make sense? Prayerfully it does. Hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense? Our goal is not to have you not follow law. Our goal is to help you to realize that the only way to truly follow the law is to separate from lawlessness or even legalese. So Our responsibility is to follow the law so well that we separate from those who do not. Our lives should look different because we separate by the way that we operate, the way that we move, the way that we talk, the way that we speak, the mannerisms that we even have, the clothes that we wear. We don't mind having a micronation, if you know what that is, a micronation of sorts. We don't mind making sure that we use an EIN before we use a SSN, right? Even in England, for those who will listen to this or watch this later on, we're going to be talking more about this with you guys on Saturday. But even with you all recognize and realize, Shalom, Sister Sabrea, you guys realize over there too, you have an EIN over there as well, right? And so instead of using your national identification and stuff like that, you can use that. We stand out, we're different, right? Our goal is to be as private. So here's a big part of what we're going to be talking about as well when we get into this, or as we keep going: private and public. Private and public are extremely important. Privacy doesn't mean that nobody sees you, but privacy, we're talking about law. You said, can you still have licenses? Yeah, you can choose to keep your license. Matter of fact, there's certain things like, so if we're talking, depends on what license we're talking about, but obviously, let's say we're talking about like a driver's license. Um, a driver's license is something that just literally says that you are under contract or you are working or you have a job for somebody, right? A license, a driver's license, what is a driver? If you look up a driver in Black's Law Dictionary or in a legal dictionary, you'll discover that a driver is one who is, working for somebody, right? You're driving somebody. So if you have a driver's license, then by law, you should be somebody who's driving. You're not driving if you're not conducting business. But I would hope, right, that if you were a truck driver, that's where I was headed. I would hope that if you're a truck driver, I hope you're not behind that truck and you don't have a CDL, because I need to know that you licensed, right? Especially if you're working for somebody, whatever company, you should. I would hope your company demands that you have a CDL, right? You have a job for somebody and you need to know how to operate that. So to be honest, I don't care how sovereign you are. If you behind the wheel of that truck, I'd love to see you, have a driver's license or a CDL, right? If you have a job where you're supposed to drive for them, and they might say, what is can you drive this much? Do you have the ability to? Okay, do you have a driver's license? If you do that, what you're telling them is that, yeah, like I have the ability and I'm willing to drive for you. So if you're doing business, like let's say you're working for who does this a lot? I know certain Amazons and certain Chick-fil-A's have a relationship to where the Chick-fil-A will take a certain amount of sandwiches and they'll sell them at the Amazon, right? I know they do that in the Baltimore area. I don't know if they do that everywhere, but I know they do that. And there's a couple companies that do that in different places. And so let's say um, that person is leaving and representing Chick-fil-A. Well, Chick-fil-A is like, we have to make sure you have a driver's license. Why? Because you're conducting business for us. So you can't just get behind the wheel, especially if you're going to drive our vehicle. If you're going to work for us, we want to have something legal that ensures that, hey, you have this, you have that. So the driver's license, CDL, stuff like that is actually stuff that can be very important. And when you're working for somebody, they should demand or can demand that you have a license. If you're going to drive, they can say, yes, well, you can't drive for us unless you have a license. Now, outside of that, different licenses and stuff like that, yeah, there are certain licenses that are necessary, some that aren't as necessary as others, some that they just have you get because they want to make sure you pay for things. But that's why we learn the law. So I don't know if I can speak to every single license, right now, but I just kind of wanted to give that as far as private and public, back to that private and public piece. Like when we're dealing with private and public, privacy just means that I have a domain, right, that is mine to deal with. So I have a home. My home can be private. My home can be made into a micronation. My home as a micronation, can have laws and things like that and structure. On my home, there's certain, if I want to do certain things on my land, on my property, like I have the right to do those things in privacy. Even if you see it, it's still on my land. That land, it can be considered to be private and not public, right? Now there are, right, and that's why you want to try and get allodial titles even. If you can, they make it very hard, and they'll even try to tell you that allodial titles don't exist in the United States of America, but there's persons that even buy cars with allodial titles. Allodial literally meaning that I'm saying that this is mine, right? Now it still gets really iffy because somebody who, if they really want to be on you about it, they can try to use, your car's identification number and all that stuff. And if the identification number is still registered to the state, that can be something, or the city, or whatever, however you're doing it. So there's different things you have to look at. And there's weird ways that I don't know if I'm going to teach on anyways, let alone I don't know if I want to teach, because then we'd have to teach persons how to lie. And I don't know if necessarily lying is always the best way, at least with certain things that are considered to be lying. I'm going to be upstanding in my teaching. So there are different things you can do, but ultimately that's not what we're going to try to teach you to be the best version of sovereign you can be, I guess, right? So, so, but any type of identification, you can travel, and not have to have a license, or you can even go as far as to make sure, once again, get your, we do this. We'll talk about this in this class. Those who haven't done or learned about your DD. Sorry, I'm about to say DD 214. Your DS dash 11, your DS hyphen 11 form, different things like that. Getting your if your children are born, a lot of persons don't even realize, like, even with the birth certificate, for example, birth certificates really aren't even uniform for the United States of America. I don't think until the 1940s. So you're still not even 100 years into it being the law that everybody has to have a birth certificate. And even that is not necessarily law, because even before that, so-called they'll call them birth certificates, but they're not. So-called licenses or certificates, as far as licenses for death, or even for birth, or even for land, etc., don't even start popping up in what you call the United States, or at least what became the United States, until like the 1600s. So we're still in a new place. A lot of persons think this has been forever, but when we talk about sovereignty, you have to realize that it's not where you come from, but it's who you come from, right? So a lot of us have this weird philosophy or thought process to I was born here, so that's what I am. If I was born in the United States, I'm a United States citizen. But no, if I was born of my parents, I'm whatever my parents are, right? And not just them, but also you have a right to recognize what your parents are. So even when you fill out that DS11 form, you have a right to say, I don't consider my parents to be American citizens or citizens of the United States, and you have a right to be able to still get your passport, right? And take a hold of who you are, and have that signed, take pictures of it, all that great stuff, and have that stuff there. But a lot of persons don't realize, like, for example, if your child is born, I know some of you already got the birth certificate and everything because you had them in the hospital, but like for the babies that we've done the baby dedications for and stuff, guess what? That when we put that footprint on the paper, and we as an actual legal, lawful organization, religious organization, that baby is there, that baby dedication is something that can be used for the rest of that baby's life, right? You said you think bonds can be used to be allowed as a form of identification. They can be, but you don't have to. If you identify as the bond, you should, or unless you're going to use it to swing things in your direction. But that's all you're saying. If you're going to use your birth certificate, you're saying I identify as the bond, right? It's stocks and bonds. So you identify as the stock and the bond, and there's a bond placed on it, right? But so depending on what kind of bond you want to use, that's why even persons who have verified bonds and all that, and the movies you've seen where persons are carrying bonds from this place to that place to that place, they can be used, but it depends on if you identify with them, you know. So a birth certificate, for example, if you identify as it, then yeah, you're identifying with a straw man, but you still identify. Now you have to say your natural person identifies with the artificial person, but you don't have to, right? Like, if you go looking for a job, you don't have to show them a birth certificate. You don't have to show them a driver's license. You could just show them. You could just show them a passport. Somebody says, "Well, yeah, but isn't that doing the same?" But no, if your passport says that you're a non-citizen national or you're a private sovereign, then why would you? Like if you carrying something that says I'm a non-citizen national, and you got pictures, evidence, and stuff, that's what you put through, etc. Why would you identify as the stock? Especially because the stock has to pay taxes, right? The stock has to answer to certain things. The stock has to be a citizen. As a citizen, right? Even like, be careful. Now, you can vote and still be private, but be careful, because you as citizens vote. So even when you're voting, you have to make sure that you have your stuff in order, to make sure that you have your stuff in order if that's what you want to do. You said, why is it requested? Because it's something that's in the system, right? Like, first of all, here's a big one, and we talk about this a lot. Now we're going to be going through this for a few more weeks, obviously, and we'll have another free session next week. But you know, recognize and realize that just because somebody is in HR, or somebody is checking you in at an airport, or just because somebody's a police officer, realize and recognize they don't know what they're talking about all the time. You have to be able to teach. That's why you should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees, know it greater than those who are in charge. A lot of persons don't know this stuff. They're the same as us. Like, we were told you have to do this. They're not trained holistically to manage stuff, right? They're trained. They're a lot of persons on the job, you're taught to do this one thing on the so-called, kind of like you do this on the assembly line. So you don't know how the whole shoe is put together, but you might know how to put a shoelace on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so do the shoelaces and do those well, but don't be talking to us about the tongue. Don't be talking to us about, the leather, how the leather's treated. Don't ask us this, that. That's not your concern. You just put the shoelace on there. And that's how a lot of persons are in a lot of different places. So you have to be prepared to teach, but you have to know it for yourself, right? That's why I even tell a lot of persons, like, hey, you should have it in your personal um, life, to have it required for yourself, to even kind of have like a binder or something for certain things, and be ready to go through all these things and know the law, the state law, the federal law, whatever it takes, because you're going to have to teach a lot of persons how this works, not just others in your family or others that you want to have access. You're going to have to teach the person when you go to the bank and you tell them, I'm going to start this and I'm going to start it with the EIN, and they look at you like you're crazy. I've never heard of that. They might not have. That's okay. I can go over your head. And if the person over your head doesn't get it, I don't mind contacting the persons that are over your bank, and that your bank and the persons that are over them have to even report to. And I'll take my time. I'll wait. If it takes me a month, I'll wait. I'm patient. But I want exactly what the law says I can have. And I want to make sure that my stuff remains private. And I want to make sure that you're not using some kind of serial number, social security number, to be able to try and use my straw man. And by the way, by law, it's not even legal that they use you're not even supposed to use somebody's social security number to identify somebody. So even when they say we can't identify, like I say this all the time, just because something's lawful doesn't mean it's legal. And just because it's legal doesn't mean it's lawful. There's even laws on the books where they actually go through and they actually go to different states, or they have persons hired to go to different states, go to different counties and stuff, and they'll start asking questions and stuff to see if they can fill in gaps, because there's a lot of places where persons do stuff that's not even legal, and persons don't even know. It's just been done so long that they don't even really realize that they still have these openings and things of that nature that don't make sense. So you have to realize, right? I was watching something. Was it today or yesterday? I think it was today. Earlier today, I was watching. There was a guy, that stuff came out that was kind of became an infamous case, where there was this boy walking through his own neighborhood, and there was these like 4 or 5 white men that started following him everywhere, and they started riding around their car to follow him. And one guy went out to try and and he actually was going to pull allegedly was going to pull a weapon out on him, and that guy wasn't even from the United States. He was from England, right? Um, while I was watching that, I came across another one, and there was a guy. This one is more in line with what we're talking about. I was watching another one, and there was a guy who was he was basically um, doing stuff as a journalist. And so he's recording and stuff like that. The police come by and they're starting to surround him, all the stuff, and he's recording on live to make sure that he's protected. And so there's a police officer. He comes through, and you would think that this be simple stuff, but the guy goes, well, you can't just be here, blah blah, this and that or whatever. And he goes, and the guy goes, well, I have the right to be here. I'm doing stuff, I'm the press. And the guy goes, no, you're not here. He's like, no, it's the First Amendment. And this is what the cop said. This is a cop, right? Who came up all tough. He looks pressed, neat, and all the stuff in his uniform. But this police officer, right, who starts off, the guy says, well, can I know what can I get your name and badge number? By the way, that's constitutional. You have a right to ask for the name and badge number. the guy goes, no, or he gave him the badge number. He said, he said, well, what's your name? And the guy said, I'm not going to give you my name. My police chief, he could have been lying, but he goes, my police chief says, and if so, police chief don't know what he's talking about. But he goes, my police chief said, I don't have to give you my name, just my badge number. Huh? And he's like, okay. And so the guy then starts talking to him, and then the guy explains, he's got freedom of press and this and that, and he's like, or no, or he says, and then he eventually says like, well, the First Amendment, and the guy goes, this is what the guy says. The guy goes, what do you mean First Amendment? And he says, no, the First Amendment. And he goes, well, this isn't rights to free speech or whatever. He says, yeah, but the First Amendment also deals with the freedom of the press. And he goes, look, man, I'm not getting into all that. I don't care what the Second or the Third Amendment says. He's like, that's Third Amendment anyways. And the guy goes, well, even if it was, it doesn't matter. But if it's Third Amendment, like, it still would be law. But fine, the Third Amendment actually didn't have to do with that. It has to do with something else, right? Then he's like, well, no, the Second Amendment. He's like, no, Second Amendment is right to bear arms and form a militia. And the guy's like, well, I'm not here to argue the amendments over with you. This is a police officer, right? And our assumption is because he's a police officer, he knows the law. You don't have to know the law to become a police officer. That's what you think. But remember, police officers are nothing more than the next level of slave patrolmen. Slave patrolmen weren't worried about law. They were worried about making sure that they got enough slaves to be able to sell to plantations. The plantation is now the prison. So that's what his responsibility is. He doesn't work for you, even though they say that they're supposed to work for the citizens. I'm not, or the citizens, right? And I'm not even trying to say that all police officers are bad. I'm not doing the ACAB thing, but I'm here to tell you that there's a system that's wicked and it's perverted. And so, you have to realize and recognize that they're not even there. You said some videos, they even flash their lights to affect what you can see in the video too, which surprisingly is only illegal in some states apparently. Well, they do that and stuff as well. Yeah, they'll flash the lights or different things, or they'll try to say stuff. By the way, you're not supposed to, what's the term I'm looking for, where you're not supposed to trick somebody into doing something illegal? What's that term? I don't know why I'm forgetting that term, but like you can't trick somebody into doing something illegal, but they try to do stuff like that all the time. So you have to even look at the questions they're asking, because some of the questions that they're asking, that's why you have a right to remain silent. Because what? Anything you say or do. And sometimes it doesn't even mean that you're guilty of something. They're just trying to ask something to make it be like we have a right to arrest you and put you in because we make money off of you. Entrapment. That's the term I'm looking for. Entrapment, right? They're not supposed to do things like entrapment, but we see it all the time. So in this journey, when we talk about sovereignty, our goal is to make sure that we learn the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees, or those who are supposed to be in charge, and that we're ready to use these things to create a safer place and a safer environment for those who are with us. But love y'all to life. We got to get ready for the live session. I would double check before we get on the live session, but right now, like I said, my Zoom doesn't seem to be working correctly. So until I can get that to work correctly, we won't be able to do our meeting for tonight. So just hold off. Maybe we'll move it to Saturday or something like that. Friday probably will be out of the question. So maybe we can move it to Saturday, or maybe even we'll just do 2 next week or something like that. We'll see, but I got to figure out what's going on with the Zoom account. So if something changes, I will put a Google Calendar invite out or let you guys know at the live session at the top of the hour. But until then, just have a great night. Thank you for being on. We'll do this again tomorrow. Then we'll do this again next week, Thursday and Friday. And then from that point on, those of you who are signed up for hashtag SOC University, we'll make sure that we get that stuff going for you all. All right. So love y'all to life. You all take care. Continue to do great things. Great questions, by the way. Continue to have some ready for us. Tomorrow we'll have 2 other classes for you. And hopefully, if you like this or whatever, it'll be something that we continue and you can be a part of. So you guys take care. And remember, as always, family, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. Take care. Peace.